Hello, peoples of the internet. You probably looked at the title of this video and wondered, Alice, what in the world are you doing? Is Barbie a soldier now? Are you about to overthrow a miniature government with an army of dolls? Are you taking over the entire tri-state area again? Unfortunately, no. Now, in order to explain why in the world I'm doing this, I'll need to shove some context down your throat real quick. I have a sort of cinematic universe with the toys in my room, like a weird crossover between Toy Story, the SCP Foundation, and a large post-apocalyptic wasteland of a planet with a bunch of weird other bits of inspiration added on. I call this toy cinematic universe the Toy Maker. I've read a lot on it that I might share online to a wider audience someday. For now though, it's still a major work in progress. A large player in the Toy Maker universe is the Shelf Cortex, an organization devoted to the study and preservation of life. As of right now, the Cortex is mostly centralized in this main laboratory on my shelf. However, this place needs a big revamp, including a lot of equipment that a research facility might need. So, that's what we're making today. Starting off, we're making a radio, because communication between facilities, agents, and anything else is, well, a very important thing. This design for the radio that I'm making here is based partially off of some stuff that I found online when searching for military radios. I am putting my own twist on it though, so it's a thing. I start off by cutting a bunch of thin cardboard into the shape I want. For the scale and function I'm going for, I'm going with 1x2 inch rectangles. I made a grand total of 15 of these. Now we're going to set the bottom 4 of these aside and cut some holes in one of our rectangles. Now I had the idea that this radio would be able to record conversations onto these tapes, so I made a lot of them. I got the printables and instructions for this from my Froggy stuff. We're going to make it so that these VHS tapes can fit into our radio. I sketch out how I plan for these to be cut so that there's a VHS tape slot. I also sketch out some room for there to be a magnet inserted so that I can plug some stuff in later. That sounds weird now, but there's a method to a madness. You will see. I kept 4 pieces blank and cut out the VHS and magnet slots for 3 of them. I made 5 more just like that, but cut out a tiny piece to make a port that leads into the magnet. Then we have 3 more pieces that are just for the magnet. Now we set these pieces aside and cut even more rectangles. I cut 8 more pieces, 3 that are 7/8 of an inch wide, 3 that are 3/4 wide, 3 that are 5/8 wide, and finally 3 that are 1/2 inch wide each. I hated fractions in school with a passion, so this was fun to try to keep track of. Next, I sketched and cut out some more magnet slots in all but 4 of the smallest pieces. Next, I glue all the pieces together that made up the VHS slot, then started sanding the inside. Then I glue on everything else that made up the magnet slot, and did a little bit of sanding just to make sure our magnets fit in. And now, for the fateful moment. It fits! So now we glue on all of the remaining panels, the smaller ones on top, and the full-size ones on the bottom. Now we sand all the rough edges to make them smooth. We don't worry much about the slanted edge on top though. Instead, we're going to trace the slanted edge onto yet some more cardboard so that we got 2 pieces the size of the slanted face. I cut another rectangle into one of the panels, meant to be a screen. Then I glue these 2 panels together, then onto the slanted bit. Now, it's time to paint! I paint the insides of the VHS slot and pour it with black paint, being careful not to paint the magnet. Next, I coat the outside with a mix of silver, green, and black paint. In order to make it just a bit darker, I dry brush on some more metallic black. For a fun touch, I put some cool looking UV gel polish on the screen, then let it cure. I added some craft foam and bits for details, and we're done. Now we are making something to plug into that, a pair of headphones. We start off by measuring the head of the doll we want to use as a model. I'm planning for mine to be for Monster High dolls, but with the flexibility of the headphones, I'm hoping it'll work for dolls with slightly smaller heads too. My doll measured to be about 4.5 inches from one ear to the other, so I'm cutting 2 pieces of craft wire that are about the same length. Now we're pushing aside for now and bringing back out the cardboard. We trace out 8 small circles. I'm using a dime, but you can use a protractor if you want a specific size. Now we're going to cut them all out. Now we're going to take 2 of our circles and sketch these rectangles onto the top. Then add another smaller rectangle to the bottom of one and a rectangle to the side of the other. Now we cut them out, using these 2 pieces as patterns to trace out and cut 1 more piece of each, leaving 2 with the bottom rectangle and 2 with the side rectangle. We're going to take each set and glue it together along with a blank circle to get something like this. Now we're taking the 2 wires from earlier and hot gluing each end into both our little earpieces, like so. In the bottom slot on that one earpiece, we put some embroidery thread. I wanted to go for black, but I was out, so I figured this would be a decent substitute. On the side of the other earpiece, I glued in a 1.5 inch long piece of craft wire with a hook on each end. This will be our microphone later. We can cap all this off with our last 2 circles. Then we're going to add more paint. I paint both of our earpieces black. Off camera I messed with the wires a bit and found them too long, so I bent them into a smaller length. Luckily it shouldn't be visible. If I were to do this project again, I would probably make our wires 4 inches long instead, maybe 3 3/4, I'm not sure. Either way it'll be fine, because now we are covering the wire in electrical tape. If you don't happen to have anyone working with electricity in your family though, duct tape should do the trick just as well. Now we're going to cut out a little bit of felt. You can use a different color if you want, but this is just what I had on hand. You're going to cut 2 more circles the size of dimes and a thin piece to finish off the mic with. We glue the circles onto the ears, and then wrap around the strip onto the end of the mic, lightly gluing as we go. Time to add in our last little bit of functionality. You can use a piece of a chain or anything you want as long as it's small enough and it sticks to your magnet. I use a paper clip since I wasn't willing to find or sacrifice any other metal bits today. I curl a bit of paper clip into the tiniest loop I could and tie it off where I want the cord to end. And we're done! I love this little setup. The radio is so cute. And one of my favorite parts is that the headphones are flexible so that they can fit on more than one doll. They were made specifically for Monster High dolls, but they also work amazing with other dolls like Barbie and Incredible World. Of course, what we got is already pretty dang cool, but I feel like going very extra today, so we're making a backpack for light exploration missions. I start off by sketching and cutting out a pattern. You can do something like mine, or you can go totally original and make your own. The main panel comes to 1.5 inches wide and 5.25 inches tall. The side panel is 1 3/4 inches tall and is 7/8 of an inch at its widest. I cut and trace one of the largest panel and 2 of the side panels. While I'm at it, I cut out a tiny square and a rectangle for a tiny pocket and a flap to go over it. Before I sew the whole thing together, I sew the pocket onto the front and the flap over top of it. Next, I cut 2 pieces of ribbon, each 4 inches long, to use as the straps. I fold the ends over onto themselves and sew it down at the top of the back. I sew the other ends to the bottom of the back, and now we have straps. Now we're going to line up the flat side of one of our side panels with the back and sew the 2 together. We're going to keep sewing our way down until we get near the bottom, where the side panel is the widest. Here, we're going to take a 1-inch strip of elastic and sew one end of it onto the edge with the other side panel. Repeat on the opposite side of the panel once you get there. It's really finicky to get the elastic in just the right spot on a small scale. Don't worry though, because when you're done, you get to do it again on the other side. After all that's over with, we're going to sew on some snaps, one to the front, and one to the top flap. Off camera, I added a couple extra little things, like the speed on the front and a bit of decorative stitching on the opening. Next, I tried the backpack on a doll and put a pin in the strap to mark where I wanted to put the detachable body cam. I also tried it on the Monster High doll, since I wanted this to be compatible for both, and it was a perfect fit. I sewed one end of another clasp onto the pin spot and set aside the backpack for now. Now it is rectangle time again. We're going to get even more cardboard and cut out 3 rectangles, each 1/2 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch. Now we're going to trace our other snap onto one of the rectangles and try our best to cut out the tiny circle with an X-Acto knife. Now we glue all of these together in another stack with a hole at the top and sand it down. Now we're going to mix some black and silver and put a couple coats of paint all over this bad boy. Now, in this little recess we got here, we're going to glue in the other side of our snap. Next, punch a hole in some craft foam to attach to the front. Then, we're going to cut a tiny strip of paper, a tiny bit wider than the thickness of our craft foam, then glue it onto the side for a camera lens. Whew, that was a lot of crafting today. With all that done, I think it's about time for an outro.
Hey, hi, hello. This is what my little desky desk looks like zoomed out. Normally you just see this much, but, yeah. This is just adorable. Look at this radio. It's still like, oh my gosh. I love this. And the headphones. Hello there. Let's get a nice close-up. My hands are very shaky, sorry. We got the little body cam backpack. Off camera while I was in my downtime, I made some radios. Little walkie-talkies. Figure, they'd connect to this thing and be able to all communicate back and forth, blah blah blah. But yeah. I am very much a fan of everything here. This is all adorable. I am very much in love with these, just like, look at that. You know what, I should probably zoom the camera in. Okay, illumination, beautiful. I am absolutely in love with these little things. And also, hang on, let me get the backpack off of this gal. I made a second walkie-talkie, and it's strapped right here. The process for these was pretty simple. A lot more rectangles and paint, with a little bit of scrapbook paper and cardstock and foam for decorations, and a toothpick, a fancy toothpick. But yeah, beautiful. It's a bit hard to see, with the... Gosh. Yeah, this outro is a mess, don't mind that. I also took a little charm bottle here, took the hardware out of it, and boom, instant canteen. Nice. I hope y'all enjoyed this whole crash into crafting as much as I did. I am very crazy about all the accessories that we made today. I have a lot more to make because a certain shelf cortex needs a huge revamp, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and I'll see you for another video soon because, yeah, I may or may not be doing another custom soon. But yeah, see you next time. Bye!